Everybody, welcome back to Chatty Cathy's. My name is Kathy. Tonight I am going to be reviewing Love and Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 2, Episode 14, Sanctioned. Before I get into it, you know the deal. I want you to go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Okay, so let's get into it. We pick up just where we left off at Jalen's graduation celebration and Wanda and Martell arguing. Martell said that he takes partial ownership, which is kind of the best that he's done so far. So, okay, he could see where he did wrong, but he also said that Wanda was wrong. And of course, she is. I've not seen a situation where Wanda was right. Because she's just Mm. She's an irritating woman, and Tisha needs to get control of that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Wanda and Tisha started arguing. Wanda was headed toward Mel's car to talk to her because she had heard all of these rumors about Martell and the other woman being pregnant, and she wanted to console Mel, but only after she brought up this situation, which most people would know that as a wife, that would be really a hurtful thing to talk about, especially with someone who is not your friend, right? So Tisha, kind of chased her mother and kept saying, "You're not Mel's mom, leave Mel alone." I kind of saw Tisha's intervention in two ways. I saw her as being somewhat jealous that her mother was giving some attention to Mel because she's jealous of everybody's attention if it is not on her. So I thought that, and then I also thought that, it was good to take her away from Mel because, clearly Mel is hurt right now. Like, okay, she filed for divorce and all of that. She bought a house, and she's moving forward. That doesn't mean that her feelings aren't still hurt. That is still her husband who cheated on her and impregnated the other woman. So not only did he cheat on her, but he publicly humiliated her. And now he's starting to be just really, really verbally mean to her on his tour that he's, you know, his tour. So everybody returns to the celebration with the exception of Wanda and Martell. I'm sorry, with the exception of Mel, Wanda, and Martell. Mel leaves, okay? So then Wanda and Martell are talking a little bit, and then they come in. Wanda continues her discussion with Martell, and Kimmy tries to refocus the day. Remember, this is a celebration of her son who has completed his college degree. That is still a big deal. And they did not get an opportunity to graduate. I mean, they graduated on paper, but they didn't have the opportunity to walk across the stage and flip the tassel and things like that. But they worked hard for it. So his mother, Jalen's mother, Kimmy, is trying to make up for that. And Tisha invited Wanda, who everybody knows whenever she walks in, especially if she's around people that she doesn't care for, then she's going to act out. And um, she was just out of line. So Kimmy was trying to refocus, and Wanda would not be quieted. And so they're going back and forth, and Wanda's saying that she could talk and she could say whatever she wanted to. And I saw a moment where the light bulb went off for Kimmy, and she was like, "You're right. Nobody can stop you from talking." And you know, she's probably just not going to invite Wanda to any of her events going forward. So that is Wanda's fault. Um, she doesn't belong there. She's not friends with Kimmy. I don't know that she has a relationship with Jalen. So I don't know why Tisha thought it was appropriate to invite her mother to someone else's event. Don't know. So everybody but Tisha thinks her mother was out of line. She is so used to her mother behaving like that or misbehaving that she doesn't even know that it's not right. She doesn't even realize that people don't take it like a laugh. It's not funny to other people. Wanda's not their mother. They didn't grow up with her. They know that she's out of pocket. And Tisha just can't seem to get that. So Kimmy was unhappy. She was very unhappy, and rightly so. And she expressed her disappointment that Wanda came to the event. And Tisha was hurt that she was upset that Wanda came to the event. Tisha is very clueless. That's all I can really say. She's very immature. I can't believe she's been married for a number of years and that she is raising children, and that the children appear to be normal because this chick is so immature. And her grandmother, the grandmother, um, who Tisha constantly has babysitting them, is inappropriate as well. So it's really the grace of God that these children are doing well, and they appear to be very well mannered um, and well behaved children. So yeah. So the next thing we see is where Marcel meets up with Kimmy at a little restaurant, and he brings up the party. And Kimmy says that she was so disappointed because she had everything planned to again congratulate her son for a job well done. And she just kept saying, I had it all planned. I wanted it to, I knew how I wanted it to be. And she was just so upset about Wanda's behavior. And Marceau kept telling her, there's nothing you can really do about Wanda. And then Kimmy says, well, then Wanda probably shouldn't be coming to my events. If she can't behave a certain way, I didn't invite her. She didn't belong there. And she didn't. So Kimmy's just so upset. And she's so upset, and Marceau sees that, and he tells her that he's going to handle it. He's going to talk to both Tisha and Wanda. After Kimmy says she will not, she will be sanctioning Wanda going forward. And she did say that, right? She said maybe she'll sanction her. Okay, so those were words that did come out of her mouth. So, okay. Going forward, we saw Destiny and her friend Jessica, who met outside of Madani, which is Destiny's store, to organize a pro voting Halloween event. And she was saying that because of the pandemic, the children were not going to get to go out for trick or treat, and they weren't going to, dress up and things like that. So she kind of, put these two events together. The children could dress up, and the adults could dress up, and they could also get some parents to register for voting, which is a very important thing, right? So we all know that. Martell surprised Destiny. She didn't know he was coming there, and they start talking. And he's just a weasel, in my opinion. He apologized to Destiny. Listen to this. He apologized to Destiny for his behavior at the party. So when he said that, I kind of stopped the TV, and then I said, "Now let me back this up because did he apologize to Destiny? Who he should have apologized to was Kimmy and Jalen. It was for him. A mother celebrating her son, and they came in there and they act buck wild, and he went and apologized to Destiny. Yeah. Uh, so when Destiny holds Martell accountable, he turned on her, really. And he said that women want everything. You want it all. You want to be paid equal to a man. Yeah. If I'm doing the same job that a man is doing and I have the same experience and the same education, then my paycheck should look exactly like his. And if he thinks it shouldn't, he's somewhat of an asshole, my opinion. And he also said that, you'll find out, you're new to marriage and you'll find out. And he kept like saying that. And she said, well, tell me. And he kept saying stuff like, she should stay in her role as a woman. And she would see, and she was saying, well, what is my role? And he would not tell her what that role was, because obviously she has a store. She has hair products, and I think that people can also get their hair done there. So she works. So her husband is just as much a jerk as Martel and Marceau and Maurice, and they're all jerks. But when this show started, it's so funny to me. When the show started, Marceau was like a dinosaur to me. Like he just went back to 1950, and I just couldn't believe the stuff that was coming out of his mouth. And I was looking at him, and I'm saying he looks normal. Um, but he's talking real crazy. And he tried to give his son peanut butter, not knowing that his son had an allergy to peanuts. That's like really important information. So I'm looking at him and I'm like, I don't like this dude. And I'm thinking, like, Martel, he's really good with his children. He's hands on with his children. And I'm thinking that he was, a good guy. And when they brought up the fact of the infidelity. I'm not one of the people who just says infidelity, divorce. I don't think that's the worst thing a man can do to a woman. I do think it's in the top five, but I think, if a man beats a woman, that's pretty bad, right? If a man steals from a woman, that's pretty bad, right? So I think there's some other things that he could do to negatively affect her and her being. So, but Martel, he kind of painted himself a different kind of dude. And now I feel like I'm taking the blinders off, and he's really a jerk. And Marcel, I don't know what happened, but I'm starting to like him best. And Maurice, he's exactly where he was before. I think he is a very selfish guy. I just think that he wants everything his way. I think he is very immature because life can't go one person's way. Like most of us know that. So I think he's pretty much a jerk too. I think he's better jerk than Martel only because the behavior that Martel is having in this season, uh, as it applies to his children, is so destructive. And he's not only using them, but he's talking to them and he's showing them really negative behavior. And then he says he's a good father. And he's not. He's really a jerk. So let me get back to the episode. Martell is also in addition to being a jerk, he's a very poor communicator. So he's talking to his friend and he can't tell her anything. But she tells him that regardless of what Mel did to him, he should, as the leader of the family, he should lead by example. He needs to set a new standard and do so. And he ran off to his car and he said that he would, but I doubt that he will because he's Martell. All right, so then we see Marceau and he gets home and he starts chatting, kind of lightly with his wife. And, Tisha starts to complain that the house is small and she's ready to get over to Scott Manor. And he says that's going to take about 2 years. And she is definitely not on board for a 2-year vision. She also told him that she wants an in law suite for Wanda. And Marceau said, no, why don't I build her a cottage so she can scare all the little kids in the woods? Which, he made light of it, but in reality, I know that he doesn't want his mother in law living under his roof because he has a very hard time getting her to respect him in his own house. Um, so that led him to bring up the conversation that he had with Kimmy. And Tisha was like, if I'm sorry, yeah, if Kimmy has a problem with my mom, she should come to me. And she was really upset about that. Marcel held her accountable for inviting Wanda to the party, and it was almost as though he didn't say anything. She didn't see where that was wrong. And, he's like, she didn't belong. She's not friends with Kimmy, right? So she didn't belong. Kimmy is Tisha's family by marriage, but she is not Wanda's family by anything. So she just didn't belong at that event. And he said, "Does your mother act like this all the time?" And Tisha said, "Yeah." And she still didn't see that that was wrong for a celebration for Jalen. And she just, I was talking to someone the other day who said that, there are people who are in uh, negative situations, chaotic lifestyles, and they've been in it for so long that they think it's normal. And I think that pertains to Tisha. She's seen her mother for so long that she doesn't realize the destruction that she causes whenever she's around. So Marcel um, tells her that Kimmy is thinking of sanctioning Wanda from her events. And as any child would do, Tisha says that she's going to sanction Kimmy. Very immature. That's so. I can't think of another word. She has her little tantrum, and then Marcel, I'm sorry, brings her toward him, and he did something. If he was a hands-on father, this would have been the best approach. If a child was, really upset, he started talking very softly and very deliberately, and he was explaining that if Tisha was willing to give Mel second, third, and fourth chances, certainly Kimmy should not be thrown away. Um, and she said, "Well, we're going to be on the Mommy podcast," and he really discourages her from bringing up this issue on the podcast. And she said, "Of course not. I'm, I'll talk to her after." And of course, since Marcel was kind of in that, that soft speaking way, he thought, you know, could he get some sex? That's a very man thing to say. I get it. In my situation, uh, I'm not going to tell that. Never mind. It's just a very man thing to say. Sorry. Almost segue. So then we see Mel pulling up carpet in her new home with her brother Marcus, and they're catching up a little bit. They sit down for a minute, and she says that she's trying to, make the house a home, and once she gets it, to where that she likes it, she'll feel much better. But she is happy that she has her own space, and that's really good. And she was talking a little bit about Martell, and she revealed that the kids asked her if Uncle Marcus liked boys because that's what Daddy said. She said that she called him and she cursed him out. And in the midst of the conversation, she invited Marcus to Destiny's Halloween voting event. And he said he'd love to come. And that was that. So now we get to the podcast. And Tisha and Destiny were waiting for Kimmy. And Tisha was wondering if Kimmy was going to come. And she did. And so Tisha started off really good as she was talking about what the pandemic has done to affect our lives, our daily lives, and especially the daily lives of mothers. So, Destiny was pregnant during the pandemic, and she was a high risk pregnancy, and she was also working, and she had a hard time. And then when she had her baby, because of the pandemic, people could not be there in her room. So it was a different experience than most women experience when they have their first child. And so they talked a little bit about that. And then, Tisha was talking to us, the audience, about when she had her first child. She had loads of people in the room. And, as it usually is, people celebrating a birth, you know, it's a wonderful thing. So then, they were talking about the fact that she had her baby prematurely, and that was a little bit scary to her. But she was in labor for a very long time. I believe she said 3 days. I thought that I was in labor for a really long time until I met Destiny. I was in labor for 36 hours. I thought that was a long time. Nope, nope. That was just something. Destiny, give her that award. 3 days. Ooh wee. Ooh wee. Um, so Kimmy is a nurse, and of course she's a frontliner in this pandemic, and they of course thanked her for her service because she's literally standing in the way of death. And she's helping people to not die. In fact, she's on that front line. So they were talking about the fact that Kimmy's son, finished his college, um, but did not have the opportunity to walk across the stage because of the pandemic. And so Kimmy said that she had planned several events to celebrate him. And then Destiny said, yeah, like the event that they had just had. And then Tisha, went on to discuss that. And she brought up her discussion with Marceau about Kimmy and Wanda. And she said that, Marceau said that she was planning to sanction Wanda from future events. And Kimmy said, I didn't say I was going to sanction her, but I am going to pay close attention to the events that she will be invited to. And she said, are you sure this is something that you want to talk about on the podcast? And of course, Immature Girl goes ahead and continues talking. So she carried on. So she wondered why Kimmy didn't come to her. And she said that, when they were having problems, her mother and I guess her best friend or sister in law, whatever, she did not want to be in the middle. And Kimmy said, we didn't put you in the middle. I said that I could handle Wanda on my own. And she said, well, then why did you go to Marcel? Well, she said Marcel came to her. He brought that stuff up. So it wasn't like she was trying to put Marcel in the middle either. She planned to handle Wanda on her own. So she blamed Tisha for inviting Wanda and taking the celebration left. And Tisha then turned it around and blamed Kimmy because she said her energy was bad when she greeted Wanda. Well, Kimmy kept going back, but if you go back to the beginning, if Wanda had never been invited, none of that would have happened, and it would have been a wonderful event. And Tisha just couldn't see that she should not have invited. For in reality, unless someone tells you that you can invite someone to your event, you shouldn't invite people. You should not invite other people to someone else's event because it can go left like that one did, especially when you know that person has really bad behavior. She said Wanda did not belong there. Wanda was not invited. Destiny was sitting in between the two women, and she's feeling sort of, uncomfortable, and she wanted her in her wig to escape. And that was a little bit of a relief from, listening to them. Now, keep in mind, they're on a podcast, right? And they're telling all of this business out like it was unnecessary. But I don't expect anything good and right from Tisha. I just don't. So, Tisha brings up Mel, and she just said, the only reason that her mother and Kimmy have a problem is because um, Kimmy did not support her with the Mel issue, um, and the thing that she says all the time, Kimmy didn't have her back. Well, Kimmy acquiesced because she's told Tisha many, many times that she's not going to be a yes man. If she sees something that she does wrong, she's going to say something about it. And that's not what Tisha's into. So she acquiesced it and just, let it go. Destiny saw an opportunity. She saw a little bit of silence, and that was her opportunity to end the awkward conversation. And she did, and the podcast was over. Now it's Halloween. Everybody is dressed up. It's so funny that Destiny thought she was Halle Berry as the Catwoman, but she really got a Batgirl outfit. And the way she could have told is that Cat's ears are on the side and Bat's ears are in the front like that. And Martel had a good joke, laugh. I'm not Martel. Marceau had a little laugh about that. So Martel comes in and he's dressed like Pharaoh, and and everybody's kind of used to Martel trying to show off his body because he's muscular and things, but his personality makes him so unattractive. He really does. So Cesar was also in attendance, and they saw someone walking across the parking lot, and they said, "Oh, who is that?" And then they say, "Oh, Mel's brother has on the same costume as Martel." And then they just cracked up, and it was nice to see people laugh because they're always arguing. like like if you're friends with people, why do you have to argue? I don't really understand that. So at any rate, Marceau said he favored Marcus's costume because Marcus put some thought into it, and he had the gladiator kind of sandals and everything, and he really put some thought into his costume. And Martel just kind of threw it on, and he had some regular sandals on and things like that. So, Marceau was, yeah, he was in there hitting him out a little bit. So Marcus pulled Martel to the side and asked him, like, what's going on. Even though he knows what's going on, he wanted to, talk to Martel. Please excuse me. Throat and mouth is so dry. Um, and Martel blamed Mel's desire to be a star. Uh, uh, that is the reason that their marriage is ending. Ooh, this guy has no introspection, right? So Marcus tells him that the kids asked if they were getting ready to go home, and they asked Marcus's husband, Troy, could he be their father? They didn't want to leave. And that just hit Martel where it would hit any involved father. And they started to argue. For the first time, Martel did the right thing and walked away after he threatened Marcus, because, I mean, it is Martell after all. The men are planning a camping trip, and so we're going to see what that's like next week. But that is the end of this episode. So before you log off, remember that my desire is to talk about reality TV with somebody. So right now, Um, I've been talking basically to myself, right? So I want to go live. I want to talk to some people. So, but I need some subscribers to do so. So if you will be so kind as to hit that subscribe button, I'd be super happy about that. And see you guys next time. Have a great day.